What's going on? Logan Henry here, and I help high-performing, busy, successful men, guys that have created massive success in their field of work, but along the way of creating that success have unintentionally put their health and wellness on the back burner. And I help those guys who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. I help them go back in time and get back the energy, enthusiasm, and body and physical confidence of their early 20s and 30s, but not how you might think. And one guy in particular I was speaking with the other day, who's actually a really good client of mine, who is a successful business owner and finds himself traveling a lot during the week. One of the biggest challenges that he finds himself facing from time to time is the temptation of food, right? And we want to make sure to keep his energy levels sustained and also make sure his body gets in check. And he's got some really big goals, and he's already made lots of strides, lost weight, gained lots of energy. But now he's taking things, my guys are very determined, so he's taking things to a whole other level and where he sees himself going. And so he was sharing with me, the things that he found that worked and the things that he found that were really challenging for him. And one of those challenges was nutrition and staying on point. And he'll find himself in two various locations throughout the week. Main part of the week, he's out, he's traveling where his office is. And then the other part of the week, the end of the week, he'll be at home in a different location of the country. And so he's really finding himself in a unique predicament. A lot of my guys travel, but when you're having those routines switch up like that, it can take you off your game quick if you're not careful. But surprisingly, throughout the week, he said, hey, when I'm where my office is and I'm working throughout the week there, I can actually stay in a routine because we've given him strategies to make sure he can navigate restaurants, airports, everything. He knows how to do that, and that usually stays on point. But when it comes to being on the home front, that's where the challenge might come in, because after a long week of work, he might come in and fly in and say, open the fridge and there might be some really tasty treats in there. Or he might go in the pantry and find, the kids' snacks in there, whatever it may be. And so we knew where he wanted to get to in his goals, and he had come to the conclusion that he said, man, I can do fine during the week when I'm traveling, but when I'm at home, this is where the real challenge happens. And it was just in that temptation of grabbing food, whether it's stress eating or just being bored and grabbing something to eat. And I don't know if you've experienced this before, but it can be frustrating because it's almost like you're going, 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back every time you try to make progress, right? So for him, long story short, we came to the conclusion that one of the best ways for him to do this in terms of making sure that he was able to stay on point is, number one, set up his environment. If you've watched any of my other videos before, I've talked about environments trigger behaviors. So that's important, number one. If your environment goes in direct opposition of what it is that you're striving for, so meaning if you're trying to get healthy and you want to make sure you're on point, but you come home and you got a bunch of cakes and ho-hos waiting for you, and that's one of your kryptonites, that's going to be very hard, considered, to try to stay on point. So that's number one, make sure the environment's set. Number two is making sure to set agreements with the people in your life that mean the most to you. Because here's the thing, agreements make it to where the people in your life, though that they may love you and they may have your back, if they don't know really why it is you're doing what you're doing, then it's going to be very hard for them to get in the game with you and make sure that they really fully support you, and because they know they can call you out when maybe you're doing something, or just give you a gentle reminder. It just makes sure to root you on, right? And so I just kind of shared with him and asked him, I said, is this something that they know what it is you're going after? They know that he's been in here, and they know that him and I have been working together. He's a private client of mine, and that he's been doing great. But I said, do you know of the big goal that they have, that you're wanting to go? And he's like, well, not really. And I was like, okay, well, I wonder what it would be like if you let them know, you let them in on what it is you're going for, you shared with them, and you set agreements with them. Needless to say, he was on board for it, and he actually, we have what is called a letter to loved ones, and he's going to get that signed and make sure that his wife's on board, his kids are on board. And so why do I bring this up to you? Well, because that is one big challenge that I find with guys, that not only the resistance that they may find in themselves to create change, because it's understandable, that can happen, but the resistance that they face with maybe family members or colleagues or people in their world who mean well, who they respect, who they care for, but when these guys are trying to go after a goal, they may face resistance from outside force, which is normal. But one of the ways to counteract that, especially if you've experienced it before, and what I share with my guys, is to set agreements. Because consider that the people in your world, they're either going to dictate your success or your failure. Now, it's not that it's their fault, right? At the end of the day, it comes down to us and taking responsibility, but it's our responsibility to share with those in our world who we care for, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's why I find it's really important to me, and here's what I would really love your support with. You do that, I think you'll find that you're going to face a lot less resistance, and you're going to have a lot of people in your world who've got your back and make sure that they want to see you win. So it's really something to consider if you're a guy who has been facing a lot of resistance and find yourself really having a tough time sticking with things. Number one, make sure your environment is set for success. And number two, make sure to set agreements with the people in your world that you respect and care for most. So I'm Logan Henry. I hope you found this very useful. If you got anything out of this, I invite you to drop something, share it below, or press like or not, and just stay tuned for the next video. I'm Logan, and I'm out.